bushes to see what's taking place. There I saw the
This is a story, ladies and gentlemen, about two lovely white women traveling all the way to Africa. Found themselves deep in the heart of the Baluba in the Congo. In the hands of my big brother, Oomba. Had it been me, I would have taken them back to their husband. But brother was hungry.
white women traveling through Africa. Find themselves in the hands of a cannibal headhunter. He cook up one and eat one raw. Them taste so good, he wanted more. Me want more. I envy the Congo man. I wish it was me, I want to shake his hand. He eat until his stomach upset, and I never ate a white meat yet. To see what's taking place. There I saw the Congo going to take a little taste. He opened the eye and he started to grin, rubbing the belly and he mumbling. I envy the Congo man. I wish it was me, I want to shake his hand. He eat until his stomach upset. What about you, Rico?
Yeah, you lie.
Yes, indeed, of course. A pleasant good night to all and sundry. You will be wondering why I am starting with the Mighty Sparrow in this way. Well, for two reasons. Two reasons, and two reasons only. And it has to do, of course, with Laventille, and therefore the East-West Corridor. You see, at one time, he lived in Laventille. But today is his 91st birthday. And I thought we should go down memory lane, but in a particular context. You see, because he influenced my life, even though we may not have crossed each other's path. Young boy, young man. But when he sang, of course, education. When he sang school days were happy days. When he sang about, of course, the lizard run up, she just and disappeared, teacher Mildred. These are fond memories. But I am doing this as an exercise to tell young people Sparrow may not be your inspiration to do well in East Port of Spain, Laventille, Beetham, Silat, Belmont, Chumakak, Movant, Malik. He may not be, but there are others that you can follow. In other words, I'm trying to tell you, be selective. Trinidad music, that is bad news in terms of inspiration, motivation, and vision. Waste of time. But of course, We also want to celebrate the birthday of Sparrow, and therefore, of course, I thought I should start with that funny, a very, what I consider to be hilarious piece, the Congo Man. But there are others. Let's go there one time. Yes, indeed. Of course, when we became independent, I'm sure those who were around at that time will be that this music will bring fond memories. But of course, I await my colleague and co-host COP as we look at, of course, this, but in conjunction with one's own development and the development of the East-West Corridor, and at the same time, the national culture, the promotion thereof, but of course, captured and chronicled in music called Calypso.
We will follow our leaders. They always do their best. Oh yes, we want to achieve. We're going to aspire. We want to be a success. It is a miracle all these different people can dwell so well. You see, we are educated to love and forget hatred. You know it's so. You people who are foreign, I got a message to you when you go in. Spread the word anywhere you pass. Tell the world there's a modern nation at last, which means Trinidad and Tobago will always live on. Colonialism gone, our nation is born. We go follow our leaders, they always do their best.
They're trying to get Mr. COP there, so, but that's all right. We will continue on this path.
The revenue.
Our country needs us.
Now is the time to rebuild. Make up your mind to climb the hill. It's reconstruction time in Trinidad, so put your shoulder to the wheel, my lad, move on, don't stop till you reach the top. You put a hand and I put a hand and we will see. For big and for small in no time at all, prosperity. There's no other way to do it. Show your patriotic spirit, unity. Somehow, if Trinidad ever needed you, it's now.
Yes, indeed. Trinidad really needs unity at this time.
Trinidadians, one and all, hear my plea, answer my call. The peace and happiness we had before was lost with everybody fighting war. Let's hope that done. So move on, upward, come on.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Repression in Afghanistan, Inquisition in Iran.
Every country goes through a process inclusive of mistakes and successes and everything in between. Trinidad and Tobago, no exception. As we meet the challenges of today and the new administration attempts to, of course, overcome.
Cambodia, but in Trinidad, land of hope and glory, sweet La Trinity. The people are carefree, happy-go-lucky, living recklessly. Oh, oh, land of milk and honey, for prevention's sake. You simply got to show more concern, show love and respect for your own, and don't be ashamed to learn from the mistakes that others make.
Of course, capitalism gone mad, and only, I think yesterday, the Barbadian Prime Minister, of course, probably taking a cue from the Trinidad Prime Minister, talked about the high cost of living. Well, of course, our Prime Minister has expressed a similar concern, and of course, to find ways and means as well, so as to reduce the cost of living across the Caribbean, well, I should say, Caribbean and CARICOM spectrum.
Them crazy prices in Port of Spain, and like the merchants going out,
of course, captured by the Mighty Sparrow in song. Don't forget today, it's his birthday. He was born on the 9th of July, 1935, 4 years before the Second World War, 1939 to 1945.
At last, here in Trinidad.
So we celebrate our icon whilst he's alive.
It's sad and getting more bad, because due to capitalism gone mad. To provide for your family today on your present salary is an impossibility in this country. So many bills to pay, there is no conceivable way to save for a rainy day in this country. Avoriciously. Run down quick, little boy, run down quick. Donkey trip and your sister sting, so little boy, run down quick. A breeze between two mountains bend. Plenty water lay down and water stand up cane. Sweet, sweet happy days, really happy days. School days was happy, happy days. Big belly atta, each shine for atta to be the most musical partner. He said he could play anything from God Save the King to Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Biggie on the railway, picking up stones. Up come a fire engine, crush all piggy bones. Oh, said Piggy, that's not
white as snow.
Of course, no medley involving the Mighty Sparrow singer Francisco could go without, of course, a piece related to education. Listen, young people. Listen, young people.
This is the foundation. Our rising population needs sound education to be recognized anywhere you go. You gotta have your certificate to show. To enjoy any kind of happiness, knowledge is the key to success. Children go to school and learn well. Otherwise, later on in life, you gon' catch red hell. Without an education in your head, your whole life will be pure misery. You're better off dead. For there is simply no room in this whole wide world for an uneducated little boy or girl. Don't allow idle companions to lead you astray. To earn tomorrow, you got to learn today.
And of course, he dabbled into some politics as well. But when, of course, he got fed up with the PNM. And it's barbarous, evil, wicked, exploitative politics, predatorial. And so he sang this at the time when the NL came to the fore and, of course, dominated the politics around 1986 in that particular election. Listen to this.
I don't know already, I ain't want fame. Plus I ain't looking for fortune again. All I'm asking is that you pay close attention to the many problems we all face from dawn to dawn. You're intelligent, I think, and you should face issues. But you're behaving like a moron, cussing me for way I born, but your pipe ain't had no water. You pay too much for butter. Take your steel beam and go.
The terrible school system is such a bloody problem.
Take your steel beam and go.
Agriculture's in a state, planning is inadequate.
Take your steel beam and go.
The northern and southern idol, the two kingpins are bubble. We know,
we like it so. We like it so. We're free. Anything that's wrong, he go put it right. Georgie Porgy tell we the other night. So instead of displaying impatience, cool yourself and give the fella a chance. How the hell you could say O&R go do better? Bet we send you back Grenada in a drum. We and Georgie going to put it right together. We have freeness and freedom, plenty roti, plenty rum. Hospitals have no linen, it's brown paper they're using. Take your steel beam and go.
public transportation is an abomination.
Take your steel beam and go.
Well, food, clothes and rent is proof. Cost of living gone through the roof.
Take your steel beam and go.
Classified information for personal gain is common, we know, but
We like it so. We like it so. But we're free.
At least, yes, indeed. I thought I would, serve you with a medley of the works and the contributions of the mighty sparrow slinger Francisco is his real name. He is today, of course, 91 years of age. He was born in July, I should say, the 9th, as today is. But of course, in another time, talking about in 1935, just 4 years before the Second World War. He lived in Laventille for a while, yes, and he got, of course, several accolades nationally and internationally, but nationally, he got, of course, the highest award Trinidad could give, the Order of Trinidad and Tobago. He also got, of course, the Chaconia Medal, and he got, of course, the Order of the Commonwealth as well from the British government. So those are some of the things that he did in terms of his career and his contribution to Trinidad and Tobago's development. Of course, the one that I really like is when he talked about the federation and how it was broken up. And today, of course, we are fighting up with CARICOM. But before that, we had the federation between 1958 to 1962. Yes, 1958 to 1962, the federation was existed. And of course, Jamaica, remember when he said Jamaica, why the hell Jamaica didn't say he didn't want no federation? I think I would play that a little later. But I don't know, I have not yet gotten any communication from, I sent the link to my colleague, but I've not gotten a communication from him. Let me just try again and see if there is something untoward, because you know, as I like to say, Murphy's Law sometimes intervene. That is the law that says when something has to go wrong, it will at the worst possible time. So let me just call again just to make certain as to whether or not he'll be coming on, and then of course we can move forward. Going once, going twice.
Oh, big brother.
You're here.
Yeah, well,
I sent the link, right?
I get the link and I know come who. I know
okay.
no come.
All right, no problem, no problem.
Myself.
All right, we are on air, so don't talk anymore. Just do your thing.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look at it. Right. Okay, so you know, sometimes the technology is such that you could know people's business instantaneously. So I suppose I didn't want him to say something that he didn't want to say, believing that somehow we had a two-way conversation. That is to say, only he and I. He must have not recognized that you are listening as well. So I decided to quickly discontinue that conversation. But let me continue. Of course, the federation, as I said, 1958 to 1962, and then of course Jamaica decided to withdraw in 1961, and as a consequence of that, the famous statement of Dr. Eric William, who was the founding, well, I should say the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago at the time. I don't want to say founding because I am not proud of the contribution in general, because I'm saying that Trinidad and Tobago should have been long time ago the Singapore of the West, having regard to the resources and the limited or little number of persons that would have been assembled to share in the wealth that Trinidad and Tobago generated naturally and otherwise by its people and all of the other factors that will contribute to an economy. I'm saying so against the background that Guyana is not yet 1 million people in terms of its population. But you see today, they are soaring high. And what they are saying is that they will not make the mistake as Trinidad and Tobago with their newly found avalanche and, of course, blessings of oil in particular, that they are now reeling from the benefits of that, and development is taking place, I mean, at a rapid pace, so rapid that the World Bank estimates that Guyana will be the fastest developing or moving or expanding economy in the world. In the world, having regard, of course, but that is comparative, having regard to the limited amount of persons that is to share that wealth. We in a specific economic program, we can look at, of course, per capita GDP and all of that. We're not going to do that tonight. What we are doing, of course, is to show the impact and the ability, or put another way, that we can glean from the presence of people like Sparrow, who would have recorded in song, beautifully rendered and, of course, archived, and that we can now look at the past and know where we are at present, but more importantly, decide where we are going. The vision. The vision. What is the vision? And in the process, we would know all of the mistakes. Sparrow sang about that as well. What are the mistakes? And clearly, one of the major mistakes is the PNM. Clearly, not to have been in office. If, of course, it evolved into what I consider to be an opportunistic, political, parasitic group of individuals who believe that Trinidad and Tobago belong to them, and that they would shift it whichever way in their personal interests rather than that of the greater good or the entire Trinidad and Tobago and its development. And so what we have is really anticlimax. A lot of resources badly spent, and so Trinidad and Tobago is still wanting in terms of the development imperatives to make future generations feel comfortable. So today we have back-to-back SOEs. We have high cost of living. We have businesses, particularly small businesses, just going under. We have, of course, exploitative elements, both in terms of the business sector of unscrupulous business operators, but we also have, of course, the criminal sector as well. On the other hand, the underworld or the subterranean group in the society that is creating havoc today. And the present government has inherited all of that, and they are now, of course, engaged in the amelioration or the confronting or challenging of the multiple and multifaceted elements and factors that they would have inherited and have to address for the advancement, ultimately, of Trinidad and Tobago. That is where we are. And those are the facts. And therefore, from a micro perspective, from a granular perspective, and if we are to take it from sectors of the community, and since we are focused on the East-West corridor, you will appreciate, of course, that there is where I will start first. And clearly things are not nice. And the philosophical and psychological underpinning of why it is not nice is because we have been conditioned for too long, brainwashed for too long by an organization called the PNM that dominated the East-West corridor and all the constituencies. About a third of the constituencies in the country is concentrated in that densely populated East-West corridor or corridor on the hinterlands, on the sides of the hills or the mountains, on the plateau or the peaks, and then, of course, going into onto the other side, which comprise what I consider to be the East-West corridor, from Carenage or farther afield, west, I talk about Chagaramas, right up through Laventil, Sawan, Arima, Sangre Grande, and of course, finally in Toku. That's the East-West corridor we are talking about. And nobody in their right mind, or trying to be as objective as possible in a subjective scenario, we are talking about, of course, those sycophants and they who have a difficulty in seeing things as they are and being objective in his subjective. Yes, you love your PNM or whatever it is, but the fact is you have to face the realities. And therefore, it's in that context I beseech and I advance that we look through the eyes of objectivity, and no community, no human being can live in perpetuity on mamagai, old talk, hoodwinking, brainwashing, disrespect, and political what I consider to be grandstanding. Not in your interests, but obviously in the interests of those who have created that matrix, that scenario. So one has to be careful. But there is a saying, as Sparrow would have said, education is very important, and that is what we are doing here. Young people in particular, over 20-something thousand of you will be coming out of school officially this month. And of course, looking for work. But you also have to be armed with certain fundamental principles. The sense of right and wrong. Don't put your hand where it can't reach. Be satisfied and contented where you are until, with a plan, you can move forward incrementally towards some objective that you have for yourself, whether you want to be a lawyer, whether you want to be a doctor, whether you want to be a pilot, whether your standing is such that you have settled to be a mechanic, a woodwork, a technician, a IT specialist, wherever, including being an office cleaner or a janitor, and indeed a scavenger. It doesn't matter. There is no embarrassment there. What you do is work for your money and put it to good use. That's all. And everything else will be added on. So do not look in the next person's pocket or what the neighbor has. Look at your focus, because when everybody focus on their own initiatives, on their own visions, on their own objectives, and their own ambitions, Trinidad and Tobago ultimately benefits, because Trinidad and Tobago will be the total of all of these missions, visions, and dedications. It is said, of course, that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Let me repeat. It is said that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Well, I want to tell you, I don't like in that equation the word luck. I think what you put in is what you will get. What you sow is what you will reap. And yes, there may be situations where you didn't expect something to happen and it happened. Whether you want to call it luck or not, I think it is maybe predestined that that should happen, especially if it is for the positive. And you get an opportunity. I remember very distinctly, I was a regular attender to the Catholic Church on the Eastern Main Road in Success Village, Laventille. And there, Father Woods, I could never forget that. Father Woods, he gave a sermon one evening, and part of the sermon was to identify, describe where hell is, or what hell is. And he said, really, hell is a place called Gehenna outside Jerusalem, something like the Labasa dump. And that he gave to the congregation as the description for hell, a place called Gehenna outside Jerusalem, where people, like in Port of Spain, we go outside of Port of Spain and we dump our rubbish and our garbage and all of the other things, both biological and otherwise, in that landfill. And he was telling us that, in other words, hell was that. So, a young fella going to school, but I know the Bible says that hell is a bottomless pit. And certainly, what he described there has a bottom, for sure, at minimum. Even though it may have heat and all of the fiery conflagration that the Bible would have projected to us who would have studied or gained the knowledge of the Bible in that regard. So, when the sermon was finished, I went up to him and I said, Father, you said that hell is really a place or was or is a place outside of Jerusalem called Gehenna. But the Bible did not say that. How you come up with that? I inquired. You know what he turned and tell me? He said, young man, I want to thank you for approaching me on that matter. Because I threw it out there to the congregation, and it's only you who come and question me on the matter. At the time, I didn't know what he meant or what his intention was. But now that I'm a bit more mature and could understand these matters and these intrigues and these complicated human stories, I could say on the one hand that what he meant was he wanted discussion on the matter of hell, your salvation, etc. All of that could have emanated, or could have evolved, or could have generated discussion on one's salvation. And here it is, I was the only one, the young fellow going to school, took up the challenge and then approached him. Taking up the challenge is one, but approaching, of course, his father Woods. And of course, I learned subsequently that he was from Scotland and a number of other personal things. But I want to tell you this. I'm saying all that to talk about opportunities, to talk about the whole question of luck is the combination or the meeting of preparation and, of course, opportunity. Well, in that particular situation, I think I was a bit struggling in my schoolwork at the time. And we became very good friends. And coming from school, the church was one bus stop before my road, Parsley Street, to go home. So I have to walk from Parsley Street to Smith Lane on Parsley Street, Upper Parsley Street, in fact. But I was stopped by the church because he made an arrangement for me to study in the church. I had the back of the church, nice accommodation, silent and all of that. And I took advantage of that. So every evening before I go home, I would stop there. And of course, my parents will want to know, well, why are you coming home so late, 7 o'clock? So on. I walking up the road from school. But I never told them that I was studying at the back of the church given by Father Woods. I'm telling you this because I want to let you know that life is not as straight, and maybe immediately you may not see opportunities, but there are opportunities that are there, are begging, that will come to light if you position yourself in the right place. So here it is, a conversation that started inquiring as to whether or not Gehenna is really hell by me as a young man going to school. Then it turned out that I got the opportunity to open the whole church and to go and study in the church. But more than that, after school and having passed my subjects, GC at the time and so on, guess what? He then told me, he volunteered. He said, he finished school, and of course I showed him my certificates and so on. You know what? He personally wrote and went to the Catholic school board, which offered me a job as a teacher. That is where I started teaching in the with respect to the Catholic board. You have the Catholic school board, and you have other denominational boards and so on that have some arrangement with the government through what is called the Concordat, church and state agreement to deliver education. So I started in a Catholic school. I don't think I took the first job. I don't think so. Because it was, once I had a vehicle, my mother bought an old-time thing for me, and I didn't like it. And at any rate, I just got my license, me going that far, because my first job was I take a school in Lafayette on the north coast. And I said, no, I ain't doing that. And then, of course, I went to, at the same time I got my license and so on. One first, my motor car license, and you know, after that, the next year, you can of course apply for any other license that you desire. But the next year, in 1 year, I applied for heavy T, for motorbike, for tractor, for H car. All of that I did in 1 year, and of course I passed all. So I have all of these permits in my possession to drive these vehicles. And then I said, now, at the same time, the money was small to go quite up Lafayette. So I said, no, I ain't doing that. And then, of course, I applied for a job as a backhoe driver. And I got the job. And most of those trench that was constructed or dug on the circumference of the savannah to lay electrical cables, I would have been part and parcel of that. That time my father had a business on Charlotte Street, so it was easy to come down the road for lunch in the backhoe and then go back up and dig trench again and so on. So I started off, of course, there. And then eventually I got to teach at one of the Catholic schools in Mount Hope, yes. And I went there, but I did some other things that I'm going to tell you to look for money, because I wanted to purchase a good car early in the game. I wanted a house early in the game. All of that I will share with you in due course. You see, I want to generate the motivational discussion, and the motivational discussion by itself has no value unless you put those things into action. And what I'm telling you is that there are opportunities out there for you. You simply have to position yourself. Let me see if Mr. COP is up and running yet. No, I sent the link for him, so I suppose he is. He said he arrived at home, so he is at home. I am at the resource center, and we're going to bring in some other people. I spoke with a young lady today in Picton. So all of the information with respect to Canada and projects up there and how the people are faring, we are going to bring that, and we're going to try to get somebody from MOVA, try to get somebody from BTAM, CLATS, and have about 6 or 7 persons per night discussing the future. Well, firstly the present, and then the future, because you cannot know where you're going unless you understand where you're coming from or where you're at. And therefore it is important to diagnose first, and then of course apply prescription, which of course will solve the problem ultimately. So the point I am making here is that while while the term luck to me is a no-no, because I think it simplifies too much effort. Because if I did not go and question Father Woods, would you consider that to be luck? And it happened that he was so interested, he became so interested in me that he offered me the place at the back of the church to study. And then when I would have completed my exams and so on, he literally walked me through to get a job on the Catholic Board of Education in terms of being a teacher, ultimately. Is there luck inside of that? You determine that. You determine that, because I will tell you something. If I did not do well in my exam, you think I'm going to be a teacher? Of course, most of us, I assume, have some spiritual preference. And so you will go to your church, or you will go to your mosque, or you will go to your temple. But what are the chances that by luck you will talk to your imam, or you will talk to your pundit, or you talk to your priest, or you talk to your pastor, and you get an opportunity like what I got? Is that luck? I think it is about the vicissitude, the rise and fall, and the meandering nature, the winding nature of life. The vicissitude, rise and fall, you have bad times, you have good times, and the winding line of life, because it is not a straight line and it is not perfect. And what is important, when you get the opportunity, you take it. Right now, the opportunity to go to school, the opportunity to educate yourself, take what the teacher is saying and the system. Get your subjects, get your exams marks up to mark. In other words, pass your exams and wait. In fact, I want to tell you that I wasn't supposed to be a teacher, I wasn't even supposed to go to secondary school, Would you call that luck? Well, after I tell you why, you will tell me whether or not that is luck. My father would tell us regularly that he had trucks and so on, so he expected that I am going to be a truck owner or a vehicle owner or a fleet owner, transporting, of course, goods all over the country, whether it be building material, or is it agricultural produce, etc., from the wharf, the Tobago wharf, to the central market, etc. We did all of that. But he told me something one day. I think I mentioned it already, but I think it's worth saying again for young people who just left school and believe that somehow there's nothing out there for you. There's always, you have to be discerning and look for it. So this day, this heavy basket from Tobago, heavy basket of peas, big baskets they would bring with peas from Tobago. Those days, of course, Tobago was considered to be the agricultural bread basket of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, subsequently, Aranguez, but these days, no longer the case. We import almost every blasted thing now. But the fact is that he said to me to move the basket, and I was catching my tail to move it. So at the moment, it says, Smith, but you go strain them boys and them. Look, he can't move that. He turned and tell the woman, they ain't learning nothing in school. He ain't learning nothing in school. So he had to do that for a living. So he better practice from now. You know what I'm saying? I said, my father said to the woman, when she realized that I was straining and was unable to lift up the basket or move it, my father said, he ain't learning nothing in school. So yeah, I do that for a living. And that struck a nerve in me. That statement of my father struck a nerve in me. Coming back, of course, to the Father Woods scenario, but I want to tell you the genesis of it and whether or not you consider it to be luck. And when he said that, I said, I am going to start to learn my work. And there were times when he actually tried to avoid me, prevent me from doing my school work. First, I was intense in my studies. Let me see if I can get this thing. Let me see if I get it here. All right, let's put it here. Let's put it here. All right. A pleasant good night. Welcome, Mr. Faizabad. Are you hearing me? Wow. All right, good.
Good night to you, Uncle Lennox.
Yes, good night to you as well, my friend. I was giving some personal experience and pep talk to the young people who will be coming out of school, this month, and believe that somehow all is lost and hopeless. We have to give them some encouragement. But go ahead.
A pleasant good night to each and every one. Share the life. And please understand, to our young brothers and sisters, our children, and the youths, as all in school, right? And the young ladies. Now, what Uncle Lennox is explaining is that the 6 years of academics sitting down in a classroom and learning from a textbook is more different than now when you're going forward to reality. The textbook gives you the basic knowledge to identify, to analyze, and to process in your mind when you before a object or an environment. So you adapt yourself to suit or accordingly. Now, the topic Uncle Lennox has put it out is because of the PNM last stint, the politicians, if they had properly introduced in the classrooms and stopped politicking for how many years, when the last 2015 and follow the model of the UNC, of the education system, you guys would have been more better prepared for an environment like this in a low GDP economy. Because one, you would have been exposed to trade, to know that every day someone who living in a house, no matter the richest set of people in Diego Martin, the richest people in Starcraft Hill, they or Westmoreland, they need services. It's either to fix a bulb, paint a house, clean the yard, and that is a big business. But you see, the system have you all in a way to think that is a stigmatized work, that is a dog work. But yet still you see time after time, CPEP and URP, you will be the check your brothers and sisters who came before you. They are the laborers who work under CPEP and URP, while in CPEP the contractor run away with the biggest pay package and the laborers get the lower end. But in this scenario now, is that you all could be the contractor, the big owner, and employ other people, other friends to manage a business. And I have discussed this with Uncle Lennox on the show already. That's why Uncle Lennox has his place. A group of you could come to Uncle Lennox and formal landscaping. Uncle Lennox give you all the guidance, the know-how, how to go about managing that when they get $100, example, that they don't just go and say this is earning. It's split between the difference of reinvesting. Just as I say, to start off at the central market, or they organize with Uncle Lennox, you go down and you show that you can, with a small sum of money in your pocket, you buy or you take out credit and you be genuine to the person and you sell right there in the market and they call it and make a turnover and they start selling and you become an entrepreneur until you can start to buy wholesale and start to process and it have better ways they call marketing yourself through the social media and you look to take up orders and you do deliveries. That is the future in it. Because, not because the central market is there, or I don't know how to do that. They who are academic inclined could form to keep books. Because the workforce today in Trinidad and Tobago, sadly to know, that it is a small market. Because the industries and the driving force of employment is no longer there. That is the refinery, the petroleum sector of this country. Because when the refinery is running and the energy sector is running, they need a lot of servicemen and women. Right? So that is why you have to understand all is not lost because you could be a millionaire and there's things that from now, if you set out your mind in little broke cans and get containers and set up a little garden and manage it, you could go into greenhouse, a small area, and produce a sustainable income. Because these are things you could talk to Uncle Lennox in his building where he have put for you all to come in.
All right, well, we have some others, but other people want to get in. So I think we got it just. Thanks very much. All right. Caller calling. Call back. Sorry about that. I have. Oh boy. Very good. All right. So here we are. President, good night. Welcome.
Good night, Lennox. How you doing?
Well, good in this circumstance. Not. It could be better. It should be better, and we have to make it better.
Well, yeah, I was listening to your opening and your comments, and I thought, your opening monologue, and I thought, my goodness, Lennox is really trying to help young people. I wish this was in the daytime you were speaking like this, where you could reach bus drivers and those mini taxi drivers and all of those people.
We'll get there.
Transporting children.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But at least parents are listening. But Lennox, I want to ask you a quick question, right?
Go ahead.
You remember you know about the coup and thing back in the 19
yeah.
19 what?
Yeah. Coup, the 1990 coup, right? You talk about because we had a.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember that very distinctly.
Where were you when that happened?
I was. Let me see. Where was I? I think I was teaching. My son was here. He went to the States after that, and.
But were you involved?
No.
Were you involved in Love
Well,
until in those
yeah,
days?
I was involved from the perspective of rebuilding because we were asked to. Well, I wrote to the Speaker of the House, and he agreed that we put a team together to clean the Red House. And boy, it's like yesterday, the stench of death, the stench of blood. Some people say rotten blood. Of course, stale urine in glass and all that. We had to clean that and wash it and all of that.
Yes.
Blood stain carpet and bullet hole through the wooden floor of the chamber. Man, it was a very harrowing experience. But I did that because a lot of the Laventil youths would have been hoodwinked, if you want to call that, or would have been deceived into trying to overthrow a certain elected government.
Well, the reason why I ask you is because I was listening to the Parliament channel, right? And they were interviewing all of these former ministers and
Yeah.
people who were involved at that time, and your name came up.
Yes.
And they said Lennox Smith.
Yes,
And they
yes.
said he did a great job, and
Yeah.
they were just talking about you, and I was like, geez, I never heard that before. And
Never heard that
I
before.
was
Yeah,
blown
yeah,
away,
yeah, yeah.
so-
In fact, we
and
went.
I was really proud that
We went further than that.
Yes, sir.
We actually repaired the two maces. They see that the sergeant of the house walking in front of the speaker or the president. That silver and
Yeah,
golden.
I've been
Well,
in-
that was
yeah,
mashed up.
I
That
went-
that was broken up, and we found the
oh my
money
gosh.
to repair it. Yeah.
I look at that. So you see how you contributed to the building of this country. But
Yes.
Lennox, I know people want to call, but I want to talk to you briefly
Go ahead.
about Mr. Hadid. Can we spend a minute?
Yeah, go
talking
ahead.
about
Yes,
this,
nothing wrong
right?
with that. Yes.
And you know a lot about laws and rules in Trinidad, right?
Yes.
But I think I have a good grasp on Mr. Hadid's what he's doing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he's claiming to be discriminated against, and that's all just a show. It's a facade because you see, this whole thing with Mr. Hadid is about a land dispute and a lease dispute in Trin City.
Yes.
And that piece of property that Mr. Hadid claims to have was never granted to him by Parliament or by the Cabinet. Cabinet always said they offered, it was an offering, but he never really signed any lease. He took that lease over from a company who was here during colonialism.
Oh, I
And they
see.
were a French company that made spirits and alcohol. And they left here in 2015, but in 2007, Mr. Hadid said he engaged in lease discussion and took over the property. But you see, he could ride on that because of the savings clause in the Constitution. Because the Constitution has carried over all those old leases from colonial days for those people who held leases, who ran estates and cocoa factories and all of these things. They still have that land today. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I
And
hear
that
you.
is just not right.
Yeah, not
And
right.
that
I
is
agree.
just not right, you know? And that's called the savings clause because those are existing laws during colonialism.
Yeah, which
And I think the
would not
government
have been
needs-
affected by the
Yeah,
change,
that's-
whether
that's-
independence constitution or the Republican constitution. Those saving clauses or those saving laws would act as though they were in effect
I
in
think what
operation
it protect-
in the new circumstance, of the country. Go ahead.
But what I'm looking at Nestle too. I need to look at Nestle and say, well, geez, what is Nestle going to do with that piece of property? Because they've been there for a long time, right?
Yes, yes.
Lennox?
Yeah, and they would have gotten it, I
So,
suppose,
you know-
under very peppercornish circumstance because the country would have wanted investors and they would have provided very salubrious or handsome conditionalities just for them to
Absolutely.
come and stay here. Yeah, but they have made millions of dollars over the years, but they would want to sell it
Millions,
at market price, current market price.
I think what the government needs to do is they need to have more transparency and it's the media really,
Yeah.
The media doesn't really write much about it. They didn't tell us about the lease and the people who own that property before Mr. Hadid got prime real estate in Trin City.
Yeah.
And that land is for agriculture purposes. What is he doing? He planted coconuts to cover up the water, the bottle in the water. And I
Yeah.
tell you something, and he's making hundreds of millions of dollars,
Wow.
paying pennies on a lease. You see, this is what we call the big inequity divide because there's only 5,000 of those people living in this country, the Syrian Lebanese community, and meanwhile, and I wouldn't even say they're the 1%. I would say they are the 0.0001% that controls all of us, the whole
Yeah.
country.
Yeah, the smaller
And it just-
than a percent, the even less than a
Yeah.
percent. Yeah, I agree with
And
you.
I would be more sympathetic to Mr. Hadid if he had poured money in schools and buildings and helping the villagers and just
Yeah,
putting
it's
a lot of stuff
opportunistic well, it's opportunistic, should I say, predatorial parasites. That's what I'd say.
And I think all of this happened under the purview of the PNM for decades.
Yeah, they allowed
And
it.
they
They allowed
nurtured
it. They
and
showed a
fostered-
blind eye to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And only now
Yeah.
people are finding out. So I think somebody's calling, but
Yeah, somebody's calling.
Yeah,
So,
but Lennox, but I'm really proud of you, Lennox. I have to tell you.
thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. Let's go to this call. I only hope I have it. Ame, are you here, my friend? All right. No. All right, call back caller. I seem to have lost you. So much thing on this phone. All right, call back caller. Sorry about that. Yes, indeed. Yeah, of course, in the lead up to the anniversary of the coup, I certainly will share some information with you. But let me just conclude the whole question of it is not about luck. It's about what you do. And things will naturally follow. There will be circumstances that you didn't design, but will fall in your lap. Take, for instance, I been here every night. A man called me today, and he said, listen, Mr. Smith, send me the information. I want to put to my board, an opportunity for that particular entity to support this program. And you can't say that is accidental, because if this program was not existing, if it did not deliver what the original concept, idea, and intent was or is, then I wouldn't get such call. Nobody would know. It might be an idea that is still here, but not manifested. So, while I understand the concept of luck is the situation when opportunity meets preparation, the fact is that you have to blast it, prepare. And the first preparation is your education. And education here does not mean academic per se. It could be vocational as well. As somebody said, you could be a mechanic, you could be a plumber, you could be a carpenter, you could be a farmer, etc., etc. In addition, of course, to being a lawyer, doctor, pilot, etc. But the fact of the matter is that you must prepare. I have heard some very, very, what I consider to be retrogressive remarks from people who I consider ought to know better. There's some people who say, well, there is no jobs, so why must I go to school and learn anything? What asses? How the hell you could say that? You know what happened to me? After my father said what he said to me and motivated me to start to learn my work, and as I told you, in some instances he tried to prevent me when he realized that I was focused, and I insisted that I doing my work. I had to write out little notes in a little notebook that I bought and put it in my pocket. So a word that I may not, I feel I would forget, or a formula that I may forget, or a passage that I have to quote or remember. I write it out and put it in my pocket, because I prepare for him. So when I would do my substantive work, whether a teacher there or not, I put these little pieces of information in my pocket in a notebook, and I go on the truck, and you have me all over the place, and I pull out my notebook, and I study in those difficult things that I believe I might have forgotten. So I'm making use. I'm making use of the time. There, you will get that as well. Like the people who would say, what the hell are going to school for? To do what? Well, I want to tell you that the opportunities are there. And the more you go to school and learn your work, the greater, the more vision, the more lucid the more pellucid. The greater the transparency in terms of what you would like to be. Just automatically comes before you. And it may not be in Trinidad, it may be an opportunity in Grenada, in the United States, and some other part of the world. Because you were, or you have prepared yourselves. You have prepared yourselves. Very important. So don't let anybody tell you you're going to school and there's no work out there and what are you going to school for? All right. There's also a saying. That if education is expensive, try ignorance. You know, ignorance is the opposite of education. Lack of knowledge, ignorance. If education is expensive, try ignorance. So, many of the persons that you see hustling here, there, and everywhere is a product of that. But nobody can take away from them. When they get to the realization that they have to survive out there, and the system is such that you have to have money in order to survive, they find themselves selling nuts. Nothing disgraceful about that. They find themselves becoming a mechanic or whatever. Nothing disgraceful about that. But they found themselves doing something in order to survive, because the system is a capitalist one, and it is unrelenting, it is brutal, it is heartless, it cares about no one. If you can't produce something in order for me to purchase it because I need it, and so make money and generate the exchange that is required so that everybody could live the kind of life that they want to within the constraints of their earning capacity. And it works well. It works well. But the point I am making is, get this lock talk out of it. You're lucky this and you're lucky that. No. You prepared. Opportunity will come. And then, of course, you must determine whether or not you would take that opportunity or not, because there may be several opportunities from which you have to choose. And one of the things when my father was telling me about the basket and I only have to do that for my living, one of the things I loathe, I was afraid of, even at that tender age, I didn't like the idea of having to work outside in the tropics and in the two seasons that Trinidad and Tobago has. Rain, especially rain. I didn't like that. So say if I become a carpenter, in order for me to survive, because it's 12 months in the year, and it doesn't matter, a substantial amount of it will be taken up in the rainy season. So you're going to have sun all the time. So I had to be outside on some roof, poking nails on a construction site, all of that. I said, nah, I will want to have a situation where I could be inside and therefore sheltered from the elements. Of course, there are those who like that, so good for them. I could never be a pilot, for example, because I don't think I'm able with the height. And there's some people like that. But I said that, listen, I don't want to have to work outside of necessity. And you notice what I told you? When I finished school, I had the option to become a teacher. I did not take it because of the price and the distance. But I went and, of course, do what? I drive back home for a little, maybe a year or so, not very long. But the fact is that before I went into school, into the school of the choice that I preferred along the East-West corridor, as I said, in Mount Hope. Courtesy, of course, the assistance of Father Woods. What is the lesson in that? The lesson is very simple. I had choice. But when you have no choice, that's a different story. I had choice. I could choose not to drive backhoe and go into teaching directly, whatever the inconveniences. But I had choice. Work outside or not to work outside. It's when you are provided with no choice, it becomes increasingly difficult to survive, because you have to tolerate and accommodate so many variables that may be inhospitable. Example, very easy. Young girls go into these cloth stores and these variety stores to sell, to work. And what the owners will tell them and what they will want them to do and disrespecting them, including, of course, the boys as well. But I want to tell you this. I want to tell you this because it happened to me. So I want to tell you this as well. That in those circumstances where the owners or the business person is harsh, obnoxious, disrespectful, you have the choice of tolerating it or leaving it. And I will tell you, I got annoyed with a girlfriend I had some time ago. Family not well off, depended on her to some extent. She was working in I think a pharmacy or something like that. And she left the job. So when I inquired, well, why you leave the job? I knowing that, listen, the family depending on that little kakada, that little money that she bringing in order to survive and to put food on the table and to pay bills and so on. And she left the job. She said, I'll leave it just so. So I left her just so too. Of course, after inquiring, I said, did you consider that in leaving the job, you would have plunged yourself and the whole family into a deeper state of poverty and acquiring basic life needs will be extremely difficult? She seemed not to be aware of the consequences. The point I am making here is that you must have a plan. Even though your boss man is exploitative, you must have a plan saying, listen, the salary that I'm getting, I'm putting aside a certain amount because I want to buy a sewing machine, or I want to buy some hairdressing equipment because eventually I want to open up my own saloon or barber shop or whatever you believe you can make money on. You must have a plan. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you because it happened to me. I told you about driving tractor. Well, by driving tractors and so on and making the money and so on, I had a plan one time. I had two fundamental plans. One, to buy a car. I told you that before. And the other one was to get my own home very early. In my 20s, I must have my home. Plan. Vision. And then you execute. But you execute with wisdom. Of course, if the employer is so intolerable, then of course other things you could do. Probably you could get the police to come in and so on, but then you have to leave anyway, or you leave and go, but leave only when you get another opportunity. So once you know that this particular current employer is harsh and brutal and so on, you're looking around, you're asking, where, and then you give him the cold shoulder and you're back and you go on your way. Why am I telling this? Because I had the experience as well. Driving tractor, I want my car, but I would have to go and pick up the tractor in Federation Park. And from the time I reached Federation Park, my money started to run by the hour. So the boss man said that one day, listen, your money will run when you reach the job site. So no longer when you reach the garage where you have to pick up the tractor. And I thought that unfair. So what about the time that I had to take to reach the job site? And I used to think very, very, very shrewdly. I said, but I had to speed up there if it's so, and then confirm that I reach, and therefore I could get in an accident in trying to reach to make sure that my hours start to run from the time I reach the job site, because he said the rules change. It's the job site, not when you reach where you have to pick up the machinery or the machine. Well, the time he said that was at the time when, not total, but I had enough to purchase my car. You know what I say? I said I had enough to purchase my car. And then a few days after, I had enough to deal with the insurance and all of that. And when he told me, listen, Smith, I am paying you by the hour, but only when you reach the job site. So the period between the garage and the job site, and whatever time you take to reach there, you get no pay. And he said to me, well, you know what to do if you don't like it. I understood it very clearly. And I just take the keys and I give him it back. I give him back the keys. Why? Because I know I have a car. But if I didn't have a car, I ain't giving back no keys, you know. I wait until I get my car. Because I have a plan. And that decision will offset. I go make less money, but I go make money anyway in order to get my car because my car I want. Or I wait until I get another job, and then I give him back the keys. But it so happened that as he tell me that, I know I have my car there waiting to just go and collect because I done purchase and everything. Just waiting, you know, in them days you had to wait a little time before you get a new car. I give him back the keys. So a couple days after, he happened to meet me somewhere, but in my new car. He watched me. He said, Smith, you use something else, yes? Yeah, he said, use something else. Why you think he said that? Because he realized, one, that I ain't stupid. Two, that I had a plan. Because no young boy ain't driving. Nobody give no young boy no new car to drive. So he know. It's his work that brought that car. But of course, I worked with him. I worked for him. I got paid from him in order to do that. But what he realized that I had a plan. I'm saying all of this to tell you young people have a blasted plan. Parents assist them in getting a plan. It may not be perfect. It may not materialize, but at least have a plan, because circumstances may change. I never thought that I would have been here. I never thought that I would have been involved in the technology as is the case today. I was never technologically, let's say, exposed and inclined, but I had to do it by necessity. And I think I told you yesterday, when I had that encounter with the police, and they felt that everybody in Laventille is the same. And after they learned that I was a teacher, and they beat me in CID on St. Vincent Street, and I saw those young men who I concluded, young men, and I am fairly intelligent, and you beat me. Them had no choice. Well, right then and there, MLIO was born, Mobile Laventille Improvement Organization. I say, so long as I could help it, I don't want to see a next young man like that, so long as I could help it. Expose yourself. Of course, there are many people that are still going through that, but that doesn't mean that I must stop seeing that or making that a vision and a mission. That's my mission. It's only the other day when I said that, Andy said, oh, Shims Lennox, you know, I now realize the depth of your concern. And in other words, he's trying to say, forgive me, Lennox, for trying to, over the years, ask you to forget the people in Laventille. Forget them. They know damn good. They will never vote for you, etc., etc., etc. And they put them in an island and get rid of them, etc. Now he knows. Well, now you know too the depth of my vision. And as I said last night, it's not by accident I talked about, of course, the emptying of the treasury in Laventille. It's not by accident I'm saying I'll work for this government for free, but not the PNM, because I know the PNM is the pain, is the ache, is the pain, is the morass engine that has created the difficulty for these communities. Let me see if Mr. Siopina, he's not yet there. I send the link for him. So probably he prefers to listen tonight. Yeah. I have my love jersey on, the political arm, I should say, of Lennox Smith on tonight. Look at here, love the rocket. You see sorry. Yeah, you see the rocket here? Look at the rocket here. Yeah, you're right. The rocket. Yeah. Seen it? Right, the rocket. Right. I want to give you the history behind that, now that you have some background knowledge of who this man called Lennox Smith is and his determination to see Laventille be a better place, and to continue to advocate that if you address the Laventille question, you address at least crime and criminality in the country, and indeed, of course, the whole question of opportunities across the spectrum. And of course, some may say it's pie in the sky talk. Last night I talked about, of course, seeing I think I did on the ground report, seeing Laventille from Beetham Highway, all the streets painted in white, and lawyers, doctors, pilots walking down these streets, and businessmen. Some may say pie in the sky. Some may say a vision that cannot materialize. But why not, young man? Why not, young woman? Why not have a vision and work towards it? And of course, the longer you live on this earth, the closer you will become to your vision. Of course, if you pass away, which eventually all of us will, then of course it either dies or somebody takes it up. Or it will be so entrenched that it lives on as an institution. As an institution. But why not? Why not, young man? Why not, young woman. And why not parents and family and neighborhood activists and concerned people approach these young people and tell them that what they have acquired, they can convert it into some kind of money-making exercise, except, of course, crime and criminality. I want to make it clear that the wages of sin is death. Well, that is a death knell, that is a death spell. So do not interpret what I say as a talent to mean the ability to go and rob people and snatch chain and home invade. No. To the contrary, if you follow that formula, then crime, criminality, home invasion, robberies, and so on will never come to your mind. Will never come to your mind. All you'll be seeing is a pot of gold because you have a vision to become a doctor, to become a lawyer, in spite of the fact that you may come out of school with limited CXC subjects. That doesn't mean that your vision to become a lawyer is scuttled. Many of the police officers that are now lawyers, they use the policing as a stepping stone to that ultimate goal, and they could go obviously no further because that's the ultimate prize. Yeah. So let us not limit ourselves. And parents and guardians and those persons who have or still real influence on these young people, I cannot do it alone. I know that. There are too many of them out there that require personal attention. But if we have a critical cadre of individuals who are so intensely committed, I'm certain that the job that I would have taken on will be much, much, much easier, and the accomplishment will be much, much speedily accomplished. Speedily accomplished. So I trust tonight that you get the gist of what I am saying. In reality, some 22,000 of them coming out. Not 13, 22,000. If you consider the fact that there's 22,000 that took the exam, the CXC exam. Yeah? Or just being conservative by saying 13,000. And too much of them will fall into the trap of crime and criminality. And those persons who tell them what you're going to school for. What you're going to school for. There's nothing out there for you. Well, once again, if you think education is expensive, then look at how expensive ignorance is. Because that approach would lead you more than likely, even though some emerge out of it as entrepreneurs, as business persons and so on, because there are always vocational skills, opportunities, etc. There are always opportunities there. You have to decide ultimately. But to gravitate to there, that is being weak. It shows you have no vision to end up there. And if there are those who are glamorizing, as is the case in too many instances, glamorizing crime. But I evaded the police last night. The police was in the yard, and I fly upstairs by the washing bay. Well, I went in, of course, my neighbor house who accommodated me, as the case may be. No. You should see that as an opportunity that person who is telling you those stories, to stay away from them and to motivate you like how my father did, because there are negative motivations and there are positive motivations. But you could convert negative motivations to positive motivations because the outcome is positive. I hope you understand what I'm talking about, because I gave you the example. Then my father said he had to lift a basket for his living because he learned nothing in school. Well, I went to school and learned. That's a negative motivation, but I turned it into a positive one because I ended up making a choice to either go to teach or to drive tractor. And after all of that, I'm still here now, having made the choice, having gotten an experience to try to see what I can do to assist the Laventille people in particular, and the East-West Corridor in general, and my nation ultimately. And my nation ultimately. Yes, my friend who called in, yes, we went into the Red House after the coup, in the aftermath of the 1990 coup. We cleaned, we helped out, of course, businesses along the Eastern Main Road, mend, build, weld, because they were ravished by, of course, all kinds of vandals and looters. We repaired the masons of Parliament, and today I am cool and calm and unperturbed, and still saying that I will walk like a dog for the UNC and the coalition of interests, but never for the PNM. Never for the PNM. Even if they're offering me all of the treasury. Because I know that that is poison. That is pernicious. That is dangerous. That is blood money. You have to watch that Balize house painted in red and know it's blood money. I'm not going to be part of that. There are alternatives. The UNC is in office. You have a very astute and sagacious leader. And as I said last night, the race is not for the swiftest. It's who can endure to the end. And of course, the classic exemplification that is universally known, I believe, is the hare and, of course, the tortoise. Remember that? Tortoise feeling so fast. He jump asleep and all of that. Tortoise come and pass him, and that was the end of that. That was the end of that. So the race is not for the swiftest. It's who can endure to the end. So even if you didn't do too well in your exams, it is not the end of the world. There are opportunities, cheap opportunities. You check the Ministry of Education, and if you are so inclined, call me, and I will direct you. I will direct you. Cheap opportunities, and go and try again. Even though you may be working for a menial salary in maybe a cloth store or emptying those containers that from time to time will come at businesses, or feeding animals, or sweeping yards, collecting garbage. But have your head on, have a plan. And if you decide to stay there, the plan must be, you must reach a certain level of salary based on your own ambition to become maybe a manager, a supervisor, as the case may be, or a high-paid employee, so that you can live. And, of course, maintain the standard that any one of us would want in terms of food, shelter, clothing, entertainment. That is what is required of you as a human being. Lavantillians, Beetham Arians, Silats, Movant, Chumacac, Belmont, East Port of Spain, and the entire east-west corridor. That is my message tonight. Let me just conclude by giving you an idea as to why love exists. I realize you're on the level of the community. You develop, of course, institutions or organizations to deliver to the community. But there is a bugbearer. The mere fact that you are from that community, the business community, the public sector, meaning ministries and so on, will ignore you when you go to ask for assistance. They may believe that you are disorganized. They believe that somehow the criminalistic in nature attached to these communities, as described by the police, crime hotspots, ascribed to you, is related to you. How dare you come and represent them? And therefore, if they have to give you something like the banks and so on, they either give you nothing, they tell you, we are sorry, we wish you all the best, but we can't help, or they give you a $500 or $200 or $300. The credit unions and the bank, they love to do that. I have the experience, I can tell you. Yeah. While, of course, the problem continues to simmer and out of control. And they themselves, on many occasions, are targets and to their detriment. But yet still, they adopt this attitude. Once you're coming from Lavantil, once you're coming from Over, once you're coming from Carnage, once you're coming from Diego Martin, from, of course, communities such as La Hoqueta, such as, there's a La Hoqueta in Diego Martin. I know there's one in the east. La Perita, yes. They see you as that. And they reflect their contributions in that mean and minuscule manner. Mean and minuscule manner. It doesn't mean that you will stop. My job is to expose all of that and to let the authorities know that there is something called social and psychological capital. Social and psychological capital. What is that? It is the price that the society must pay, or put another way, the investment that the society must pay, and I'm talking here specifically both the private and public sector, the businesses as well as the government agencies. The price that they must pay, the investment that they must make in order to keep the peace. And don't tell me you don't understand that or talking hogwash when in fact we have back-to-back SOEs. What do you think that is as a result? It is as a result of not making the necessary capital investment in social and the psychology of the communities that are most affected, both in terms of the creation or the perpetration and that of execution as well, to the detriment of all of us. I already mentioned the whole question of international advisories against Trinidad and Tobago because of these communities. And yet still you don't understand that you have a duty. Well, having operated at the level of the community and realizing that we ain't going anywhere, have decided, of course, to create a political machinery that will, as the politicians do, to get access to the blasted treasury. What do you want me to do? We ain't getting anything when we stay at the level of the community, giving us a token and, of course, handshake and well-wishing. Well-wishing. So what you do? You go to the level where the air is rare and to the top of the hill. That is what the elections for me and Laventille was all about on the 28th of April. And even before that, because I contested in 2007. I personally contested in 2007. My party candidate contested, of course, in last year, 2028. That's why. And you understand why I will insist that the respect and the contribution, whilst I expect it's going to be measured, no, I don't expect them to empty the treasury in Laventille because they want it emptied in their own constituencies. But the reality is there must be a mechanism to share, and whatever more than what the PNM would have offered, we will accept it because I am where the air is rare. We are part of the coalition of interests, and they could jump high, they could jump low. And we will extract our pound of flesh in due course. And we will do so with dignity, with pride, with honor, and without, of course, toppling the apple cart, because what remains constant is that the UNC and the coalition of interest is the only vehicle to save Trinidad and Tobago. So don't believe that it means that I am going to be antagonistic and be in the public gaze and, of course, making all kind of couture. No. I'm going to do so, and we are going to do so with pride and dignity, and knowing full well that the PNM is the bane and the genesis of our morass and debilitation and retrogression. So don't expect that Lennox Smith is going to be on some platform or some mountain bellowing against. What I expect, however, is that those who are within and would have been given the opportunity to be respectful, which we will demand as a member of the coalition of interests. And we are going to take every measure privately, one-to-one, to address this problem. And hopefully, at the end of the day, the question of Laventille and environs will be addressed in such a way that it contributes to the removal of international advisories against Trinidad and Tobago and provided the opportunities for young people and the general community, whether in housing, whether in infrastructure, whether employment opportunities, whether delivery of social services, whether the in the cultural sphere, or indeed sporting sphere, and general youth development and people development initiatives. That is where we are going. You're not going to hear Lennox Smith in the public castigating anybody in the government. Let's get that clear. The contrary is the case. We will defend and defend and defend and defend and defend and defend. That's what we will do. And slow as it may be, and those on the outside, as unjust as it may seem, we're going to wait. Because as I said, ability is ability. We're going to do what we have to do and wait. Do what we have to do and wait. Time longer than twine. Time longer than twine. And as is often said, unfair games will have to be played over. But in this case, it means that there must be a focus where we can solve these multiple issues of a subterranean nature. Crime, criminality, gang warfare, borderline issues, young people seeing violence as an escape. Parents at the wit's end as to what to do. You see, I am saying so because I know that the present government knows what to do. Why? Because it is contained in the Zoso bill that was scuttled by the PNM. There's a section that talks about commitment to legally, to education, to infrastructure, to utilities, to getting our young people in school and fit for examination and being successful by and large. Housing, accommodation, and all of that. In this Zoso bill, you weren't told that by these independent senators, neither the PNM, because they don't like you. You understand why I will never work for them no matter how much money, because they are destructive to Trinidad and Tobago, and more particularly those persons who they hoodwink into voting for them. And today they are balancing all over the country, playing the fool, and not contributing to what Kamala Prasad Bissessa and the coalition of interests is actually pursuing today. You saw the success in CARICOM. Even though the PNM was wishing they would kick out. No, it didn't happen. The reverse is the case. They are now embracing, and they may well, if PNM go close there, let PNM go up there, they might well kick her because she was part of that misleading, detrimental, retrogressive, anti-Trinidad and Tobago, and ultimately anti-CARICOM stance. How the hell you could go and support Maduro? How the hell against the United States? How is that possible? That was always a decision that will end up in calamitous actions against Trinidad and Tobago. Always. But now you see, with the right people at the helm, Kamala Prasad Bissessa leading, you notice the Americans are coming. They gave advice on the oil refinery. I'm sure they will influence what is happening in Guyana. And of course, the refinery will play its role. We already have, of course, a serious, better than most, infrastructure for the processing of gas. We are going to be the beneficiary of that. And at the end of the day, you have a government that understands equity and equitability, and therefore will, of course, distribute as we saw them do between 2010 and 2015, when, of course, that blight, that curse called Rowley and the PNM came to interrupt that beautiful development path that Trinidad and Tobago had carved for itself under the UNC, under Kamala Prasad Bissessa between 2010 and 2015. So the time is now what? It's 10 o'clock, people. So I have to say, have a wonderful rest of the night. We started early. Clearly, Mr. COP was unable to treat with us, but we did, of course, pay tribute to the Mighty Sparrow, 91 years of age, born on the 9th this day, but of course in 1935, 4 years before the Second World War, 1939 to 1945. And of course we did touch on the historic events that are taking place in CARICOM. Trinidad and Tobago restored to its hegemonious position, meaning that its dominant leadership of offering, of course, interim South and Eastern Caribbean connectivity through the Galleon Passage, the boat that is one of 4 in Trinidad and Tobago's fleet, and therefore could afford that. but at the same time providing tremendous leverage and influence for Trinidad and Tobago moving forward. I'm sure that all of them will be looking for leadership at the United Nations now that Trinidad and Tobago is also as a temporary member elected on the Security Council of the United Nations. So a lot is expected. Some people say, well, Smith, that is not food. Well, you have to be a fool to believe that that is food in the first place. What it does is lay the foundation for food unlimited. Let me repeat. It lays the foundation for what? For food unlimited. We have a call here. Let me just take this one. President, good night.
Good night, Lennox. Excellent contribution that you spoke about your life and everything else is a real inspiration, and I know that people will learn a lot from it, and the young people, it's very timely. And considering, like, when they talk about businesses and stuff like that, supporting initiatives, businesses, they could do that. And I mean, that they will get that, when they do that now, they get a return on the income, and also, I think they get a income tax return.
Oh, yes, there is an arrangement, particularly, I think, in the area, especially where civil society institutions are concerned in particular. I know that. So you are on the button. Go ahead.
Yes, so that shows the mindset of some people. I mean, they have nothing to lose. So why not support initiatives when you're still getting back a return on, you're living in a proper society and all that. So,
Yes.
so that is the mindset of some people. You know, so it's kind of sad, but these businesses have no excuse because they will get back the money.
Yes.
In terms of tax returns and even a better life.
Yes, man. Yes, man. I want to tell you, go to the top of the class with that intervention, because I don't claim to know everything or able to, of course, confine everything in a discussion like that. But certainly, what you have just raised is a very important point. But go ahead. I'll explain after.
Yeah. So I'm going to highlight that situation so people could know that there is hope, and they could have
Yes.
understand what is really going on out there. And congratulate you with the contribution is excellent, and I wish you God's blessings on your family and continued success.
Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much, my friend. The caller is correct. The caller is correct. That I omitted, not that I didn't know, but I omitted to say that in the private sector, the government has created a scenario where you can get tax rebate, or you can get a tax credit, or you could get tax relief up to a certain amount by private sector investment in civil society initiatives, sports, education, etc. And when you put the tax there, you get relief. When you put that as part of your expenditure, and therefore the tax that is supposed to come out of your money or your earnings will be much less in relation to that. So I want to, of course, thank that caller for that intervention. When we are dealing with the economy and entrepreneurs and opportunities for business, and the role of the consumer and the responsibility of the neighborhood and the leaders and the ordinary Joe to make sure that the environment is such that it can facilitate business. Because you don't want a hostile, as the Prime Minister would say. What is the sense? Pursuing business, looking to make money, and you could dead tomorrow. You understand where I'm coming from? What is the sense? In that way, I can understand that. If a fella tell me, well, listen, what is the sense taking your education when tomorrow I will die? But it doesn't work so with respect to education. However, that is a possibility as far as business is concerned, because they're making money, and therefore these fellas don't want to work, and therefore they will come and rob you. But they're not going to rob you of something that's in your head. No, that is impossible. So do not. That is a propaganda that is fermented and delivered, and of course pursued by a PNM agenda that don't want you to be the best that you can be along the east-west corridor and in Laventille, East Port of Spain, Beetham, Sealats, etc. Let us not waste time. So there are incentives for businesses to assist, but yet still they don't in spite of that. And that is why, of course, as a member of the coalition, my duty will be to leverage that position and to let them know in a very nice way, not publicly, that they have a responsibility to facilitate the capital investment, social and psychological capital investment, to ultimately keep the peace and promote prosperity and wealth creation in Trinidad and Tobago for all without exception. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow morning on the ground report. And don't forget, of course, tomorrow night is my sabbatical. Somebody liked me to say sabbatical, so I'll say sabbatical. But of course, we will see each other on Monday. And of course, COP will be with me. Look forward to Joshua's program during the course of the day, of course, maybe all around 4 or 5 o'clock. And his team of youth doing their part to make sure that they avoid having a generation or producing a generation that will cause back-to-back SOEs in Trinidad and Tobago in the future. Let's end, of course, with the Mighty Sparrow as he expatiates some of the things that we would have been familiar with or are familiar with in song. Let me see what we could look at. I thought I would have gotten the federation part to deal with Jamaica and why they exited that arrangement. But before that, I think all right. Well, let's go back to education then. Let's go back to education.
Education, education, this is the foundation. Our rising population needs sound education to be recognized anywhere you go. Have your certificate to show, to enjoy any kind of happiness. Knowledge is the key to success. Children go to school and learn well. Otherwise, later on in life, you won't catch real hell. Without an education in your head, your whole life will be pure misery. You're better off dead. For there is simply no room in this whole wide world for an uneducated little boy or girl. Don't allow idle companions to lead you astray. To earn tomorrow, you got to learn today. You're making yourself a poppy show, Melda. You making yourself a bloody clown. Up and down the country looking for obia, and your perspiration smells so strong. Well, girl, you only wasting time. Obia wedding bells don't chime, and you can't trap me with negromancy. Melda, oh, you making wedding plans, carrying me name to Obia man. All you do can't get through. amount of incense that you burn at night. Lad and gal stinking up. Girl, no man can stand your breath. You're too damn nasty. Get away from me. Melda, you making wedding plan, carrying me name to Obia man. All you do can't get through. I still am married to you. I see two old man be so fast that they make me laugh. A riddler, run down quick, little boy, run down quick.
I see my mic was off a bit, so just in case, of course, once again, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless us. See you tomorrow morning on the ground report. Just in case you didn't hear that, I noticed my mic was off for a moment. So have a wonderful one. And as I was saying, the Mighty Sparrow's birthday today, 91 years of age, born on the 9th, of July, 1935, 4 years before the Second World War, 1939 to 1945. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless us. See you.
Up come a fire engine, crush all piggy bones. Oh, said the piggy, that's not fair. Hey. Oh, said the engine driver, what the hell I care? Green as grass, white as snow. Sour, said as a poor man handle plenty dough. In a big them was happy days, very happy days. School days was happy days.